Welcome back to the podcast with me and Quentin. Today we're going to be discussing our characters' roles from Romeo and Juliet in today's society in St. Louis in 2022. We're going to be carrying it off of the play and discussing what would happen further into what happened after the thing with Romeo and Juliet. What would happen after that in today's society? Quinn, would you who is your character?
My character is Lady Capulet.
What does Lady Capulet play in the role of Romeo and Juliet?
Lady Capulet is basically Juliet's mother, and though she spends much less time with her than the nurse, she represents the life of a wealthy woman.
Yes, she does. Does she not very much care about Juliet as much as she should?
I think yes, because she doesn't spend a lot of time with Juliet as a normal mother would do with any of their kids, and I think that spending time with their kid would kind of make that bond a lot stronger.
Yeah. Well, my character is the nurse, and in the story Romeo and Juliet, she plays as an outlet for Juliet, and she gives the Juliet someone to talk to, and she also kept the wedding with Romeo and Juliet a secret when no one else had any clue what was happening. Quentin, do you think your character, Lady Capulet, would play? What role would she play in today's society after the tragic events of Romeo and Juliet?
I think that she would probably play more after what happened is kind of someone who gives speeches to other mothers on how they need to spend more time with their kids, because you never know actually what's gonna happen, and something could happen and you never actually got the time to spend with your kids. So maybe someone who gives those speeches and tries to remind mothers to spend more time with their kids.
I agree, because she might regret what she did with Juliet before she died, and maybe she's looking back on that as a lesson learned. How do you think people would react to the way Lady Capulet treated her before she died in today's society? And do you think there would be any news stories about how mothers should be paying more attention to their kids, and how you never think about it something before it's gone?
I don't know. I just think that this whole story, even from way back then in the past, it's always been the same traditional story, and I think it needs to stay like that, because even though we're in the future and a ton of things are different, these parents still need to know what the parents back then had to go through and what they did to have that strong bond, instead of changing a bunch of things just to get closer to their kids.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just feel gosh, I don't know, man. Because, it would be, just, such a tragic event for Lady Capulet to, not really be there for her daughter. And then the next thing you know, her daughter's unalived herself. Because of, maybe, do you think she maybe felt, stress from Lady Capulet before dying? And maybe, that maybe, caused her to do something?
Probably only because, her families were forcing her to do stuff she didn't want. And, talking about love, in this play, people have true love, but instead of forcing people into, love that they don't want, then, you should just let them choose what they want to do with that part of their life instead of trying to boss them around.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Lady Capulet, pushed love onto her that she didn't want with Lord's daughter, or son, and she didn't really love him, but she loved Romeo, but she wasn't allowed to love him. And I feel that's just, and she was trying to keep her away from Romeo, which kind of led that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think? How would social media react to this in today's society? And what do you think? Like some famous people would have to say.
I think maybe like if famous people had to react, they would probably think something like, "Oh, maybe I should have spent more time with my mom," or like, "Oh yeah, I think or I agree that like parents should like give you some space when it comes to like love life or like just like what you want to do." But they should also like give you restrictions on what they think is safe for you. But I think it's also important for like parents to think like know what your like personal life is and give you space so you like actually can learn what life is going to be like when you get older.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that some like famous musicians or just really famous people in general would look back onto like their childhood and be like, I should like focus more on like family and spending time with my parents instead of going after fame and money? Do you think they regret any of that and wish they could like take it back maybe?
I think yes at some points, only because there might be some points in their life where like they might have like went to a friend's house one night while their parents were like wanted them to stay home. But like I also think that like them trying to go for the fame is also for a reason too, because they're trying to get like enough money to help their parents out to get somewhere better, so they're not just struggling where they would be at their whole life.
Yeah, especially after like the tragic events with Romeo and Juliet, that they would maybe think about that in today's, like if this happened in St. Louis, people would for sure look back on that topic of spending more time with their loved ones while they have it. Let's see. Do you think there would be any maybe like monuments made in St. Louis to like help people remember the tragic events, or like something to like make sure you remember to spend time with loved ones? Like statues or something?
I think yes, only just to remind people like that you shouldn't forget about those people in your life that helped you through the tough times, and like just so you remember who helped you get to where you are right now, because if it wasn't for them, you probably would be somewhere a lot worse.
Yeah. And like to remember like don't like take things for granted, and you don't realize what you've lost until it's gone type of stuff. Because Lady Capulet was devastated after the death of her Juliet, and I just feel that she just wished she could probably go back in time and let those two, like, maybe make up with the Montagues and the Capulets. Maybe, like, those two, like, collide and, like, be friends so that Romeo and Juliet could be together. And maybe she just wished that they would never have fought in the first place. Would you care to ask me any questions?
I think probably most of those questions, probably.
Ask me some questions about, like, what do you think my role as the nurse playing in 2021?
Alright, so since you're the nurse, like, and Lady Capulet probably like spent more time with her throughout like Juliet's life and like her life, what do you think like made like the nurse get more attention for Lady Capulet than Lady Capulet like hanging out with her like daughter?
Like, why do you think the nurse spent more time with Juliet?
Yeah.
I think
no, not Juliet, but Lady Capulet.
What? Oh,
why
did the nurse hang out with Lady Capulet more?
Yeah.
I feel like the nurse served as like a neutralizer and just tried to make everyone happy and didn't really want everyone to like fight and stuff like that. And she was just like talking to her maybe to like resolve issues with Juliet and Lady Capulet.
I agree.
And after the death, I feel like the nurse also in 2021 or 2022, the nurse would serve as like maybe like someone to talk to, or like a therapist after the tragic accident, and maybe she would could probably start a business up with a bunch of different outlets so people can talk to them and maybe talk to them about their own problems in their own lives.
This question isn't about your character, but do you think when Romeo and Juliet died, everyone's feelings that everyone that really didn't like either Romeo or didn't like Juliet, do you think all of the people's feelings kind of changed for each other, and all the beef that they had changed, and they all became friends and a good friendship between each other?
I think that was a good thing that they all came closer together, because they learned from their mistakes, and that fighting is never the solution to anything. Especially in today's society, they realize that going together would be stronger than trying to separate themselves from each other.
Alright.
And I just feel the nurse has a very important role after the death in today's society. And she can, there's many different things she could do to, help other people in the same situations. And I think that's about, probably it. So, thanks for coming on the podcast. Catch you later.
Yeah.